Hey guys,
I'm Jerry.
I'm Sierra,
We're ladies.
and we tangent.
Okay.
Your hair looks very nice.
Thanks.
You're really making me want to do things with it, like a bangs situation.
Like my hair?
Yeah, but I can't.
I want to bang your hair.
I want to bangs your hair, and then bangs my hair.
What's up, everyone?
Hello.
How you doing?
How are you?
I'm concussed.
I know. I heard. Tell the people what happened to you.
People, my 2-year-old beat me up today. No, I'm kidding. Okay,
2-year-olds are friggin' vicious.
Oh my gosh, it is hard. It is they're so violent.
They are.
And
they
like,
don't mean
know.
to.
I know, and that makes it harder.
And you're like,
yes.
there have been so many times.
I told you that's how I broke my phone.
There were so many times when Noah would like headbutt back and smack me in the mouth that I'd be like, oh.
Yes.
And then I have to be like, that's a baby.
Yeah.
But it's my first instinct. It's like, you hurt me, I have to hurt you back.
Yes, I'll show you what hurting is.
Yeah, how horrible.
But I was feeding Forrest, and we have this Jolly Jumper thing. We used to put it in the door, but we don't have that many door frames. We have like an open concept kitchen, living room, dining room.
Yeah.
And so we just prop up this like aluminum stand for his jumper, and it folds up. So we just put it against the wall because we have very little walking space when it's out. So I'm feeding Forrest at the table. The Jolly Jumper is folded up behind my head, but there is a binky clip to it, which Ollie rides his bike over to and decides, I'd like that binky right now. And so he pulls it. And by the time I hear, look out, look out, look out, it's smashing into my head.
Who's saying that, Shane?
No, Rachel was here.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Rachel and I are both double vaxxed.
Oh, yay!
We embraced and cried.
Amazing.
I'm
going to be there so soon.
I know.
In like a week.
I wanted to say this. First of all, Ollie felt terrible.
I was going to say, the thing that's horrible too is once they get to a certain age, like a little bit over 2, then they'll be like, oh, boo-boo, a boo-boo, and then they'll want to kiss it, and I'm like...
Ollie always goes, Mommy Cayenne, Mommy Cayenne. And I'm like, Mommy is crying tears of rage right now. But I just looked at Shane and I go, I'm going to need you to take over. And so I just walked right to our bedroom and I got in the fetal position and just put as much pressure on my head as I possibly could with my hands. And that seemed to help, but my vision is still not great.
Oh, God.
But that's the other thing I was going to say is like, I got my second dose of the vaccine yesterday. And I realized when I talked about my first dose, I made a joke of it. And like, I stand by my joke. But I did want to also include, because I do know that there's a lot of fear around the vaccine. And there's a lot of like anxiety about getting either the first dose or the entirety of the dosages.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say, like, from a for real perspective, like if anyone is either thinking about getting it or has gotten their first one and is scared of their second, my first shot, my arm hurt a lot. Like my arm hurt a lot.
I heard as soon as you get it, do some like windmill arm exercises.
Yeah, well, yeah. When you told me that you like slept for a long time, I'm like, oh, your arm is gonna.
Dude, it hurts so bad.
You didn't move that sucker, so it's gonna be like, bad.
I woke up and it felt like, it was terrible.
But my arm hurt and I was tired, and the next day I was tired. I felt like a little achy. Yeah, but like. I didn't get sick. I never had any fevers, never had any chills.
And like we've had so many of you say to us, and we both kind of know, we are pretty positive that we had COVID.
Yeah, there was no way to test when we had it because we had it in January before we knew.
Yeah, but if I could take what I felt from the vaccine over that, any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Any day of the week.
Oh, yeah.
I also want to give anybody who's worried about trying to conceive or I got it while I was pregnant. Everything is going great.
I have a lot of friends who got it while they were pregnant.
Corey is a nurse, so he has a lot of nurse friends who got it and then became pregnant.
Yeah.
So there's no, I don't believe there's anything that's saying that it's causing infertility except for the sites that are not reputable sites.
Yeah, or sites that are already against vaccines in general. Also, I wanted to say I got my second one yesterday. Less pain in my arm.
Amazing.
I felt it go in the first time. It was the most bizarre experience ever.
Crazy.
I felt like the fluid, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
This time I didn't even notice it, and my arm wasn't sore until this morning, and it just feels like a little bit sore.
Right. I got my flu vaccine this year too, and that was like
The flu shot hurt my arm. Yeah.
That hurt my arm almost as bad as the other one.
If anyone
I'm just
is
really
like,
getting all kinds of vaccinated.
if anyone's weirded out by vaccinations and needles and stuff, sorry about this talk because my husband, Shane, does not like this talk at all. So again, apologies. Skip this.
Yeah.
Too late now, actually, because by the time you heard me say skip, you've already listened. But I did want to say, I, again, felt tired, but I had no symptoms. A lot of people were saying, like, oh, if you didn't get any the first one, the second one's going to be way worse. No, the second one was actually easier for me.
Oh, amazing. Good. I'm kind of hoping that, because I did get some the first.
Yeah.
But not, again, I wouldn't take that over when we thought we had COVID any day of the week. But I think that's also just because I have a lower immune system from being pregnant anyways. Still wasn't bad at all.
I had a lot of fear going around it because of everything that I had seen online. And so that's why I wanted to say something in case there is someone who is scheduled for their second one soon or hesitant to go for it in general. Yeah. And just say that, like, I didn't have a negative experience. I'm not saying you won't have a negative experience. Yeah. I just want to provide another voice that, you know, you can, if you've only heard negative, at least here's a positive one.
Absolutely.
So
good. That's important.
Yeah.
Anything else besides being concussed?
I don't know. If I had anything, I've forgotten because I'm concussed.
I concussed myself the one day. I told you about that. It was so ridiculous. I was like forcefully trying to lay down because I was mad that my dogs, I really wanted to take a nap. Again, pregnant. I'm so tired all the time. Mm-hmm. And I think this was after I got the vaccine, so I was extra tired. Yeah. And I just wanted to take a nap on the couch. I couldn't even be bothered to go up to my bed.
Well, now you know how Corey feels.
Yes. Well, I prefer him nowadays. I'm like, hey, you want to sleep on the couch tonight?
Hey, can you stay away from me?
Don't feel bad if you fall asleep down there, because now I'm like, don't touch me at all while I'm sleeping. And I need a lot of room. But anyways, my dogs wouldn't stop barking. So then I had to open the door and see if there was anybody there and show them there's nobody there.
Yeah.
And then I was mad that I had to get up and do that. And so when I went, I was like being angry at nobody, but trying to be like, oh, I'll show you.
I'll show these dogs.
Yeah. And anyways, I flopped my head back and freaking smacked the shit out of it. There's like a part of this part of the couch that is completely wood and like a little bit of metal.
Yeah.
And that's where I smacked my head down. Anyways.
You got a real good nap after that.
I did. And Corey was like, tell me you didn't go to sleep. I was like, I went right to sleep. Immediately after. And it hurt for days. But
I don't remember doing it, actually.
Yeah. But I was fine. Yeah. I had a little bit of a headache for like 5 days afterwards, but
no big deal.
No big deal at all.
Yeah.
Speaking of baby things, I wanted to say, first of all, I can't get on our Ladies and Fangents page anymore without crying.
Yeah.
It literally makes me, my mom called me. We talked for like an hour last night, and Corey and Noah were both sleeping, so I was like, hey, trying to show up. But she is on that page, and so she'll always call me and be like, can you believe it? Oh, blah, blah, look how nice it is. And like just point out little things. She's like, I'm just so excited that all these people are excited for you and like happy. And that one post that was like, we're the internet aunties.
Yeah, and uncles.
Yes. And so
you cuties.
You guys are amazing. First of all, and if you're not on that page, that's like the greatest little community. Yeah. That's what I wanted to segue into, because me and my mom then got into an hour-long conversation of I was getting to a point in this town where serving didn't help at all, but in just being in this town. But I was getting to a point where I was just really like giving up on humanity and people, and I was kind of just like, nobody gives a shit about anything but themselves and their money anymore, because that's what it feels like. That the world is just like, fend for yourself, fend for your money, verbally abuse people who get your steak temp wrong. Like, that's the norm or whatever. And so my mom was just like, we don't get out a lot. And so when we get to see all these people from all these different places, she's like, the world isn't all bad. Like, there's so much good still. There are people that don't even know me that want to spoil a baby that they don't even, you know what I mean? That's just like, it warms my heart. So thank you guys. I want to shout out everybody who has congratulated me or cried for me and with me. And it's just been really beautiful. So thank you.
I'm so excited.
I know.
I'm so thrilled. This is like, the best experience because like your first experience
Sucked.
with pregnancy, it was like shameful.
It was shameful. I felt I could not be excited about it because I was supposed to be embarrassed.
Yeah.
I was supposed to be shame, you know.
Shame, I know your name.
Exactly.
And it's pregnant.
And it's in its almost teen pregnancy.
Technically
I
not.
got pregnant at 19. I just found out when I was 20.
True.
So I mean, I really was on the cusp.
Yeah.
But yeah, dropping out of college and all that, everybody was just like, that's great for you. Kind of just like saying nice things, coming to my baby shower and like being fake nice. They were just like,
but
we're
even
so
then you couldn't
happy.
feel like you could be excited about it because people were telling you, you know, like you did it the wrong way or at the wrong time.
Or God forbid that I say the things that I say now, which is like, oh, this sucks.
Yeah.
And now people are reaching out to me and are like, thank you. Pregnancy does suck. And I feel like I can't say that. When I said it when I was 20, if I would be like, oh, my back hurts, I would have 4 to 5 people commenting under my things that were like family or like just people in the town that were like, pregnancy is a blessing. You should be so lucky.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. And I was like, yeah, I fucking get it. I get it. It's beautiful. I have hemorrhoids. Like,
Yes.
This is hard. I'm allowed to say it's hard. That doesn't mean I'm going to be a bad mom. But I thought that I was.
Yeah.
Because they were making me feel like, wow, she thinks it's hard already. Well, good luck when you don't get to sleep.
That's something that bothers me a lot is like when you're pregnant and you're so exhausted and then someone who has a newborn or who has children is like, oh, you think you're tired now.
Just wait. You're never going to sleep again.
I can be tired now and I can then
also be tired.
then. Like,
Yeah,
why
both
can't
of these are going to suck.
why can't I be tired always?
Yeah, I'm tired. I was tired when my kid was sleeping 12 hours a night, but that's just who I am. I'm a tired bitch.
Why would you make me feel guilty about being tired?
By the way, speaking of being a tired bitch, I had a dream last night that I wrote a book. And it was called Girl Stay in Bed. And now I really want to write that book.
Do it.
And it was all about
It'd be very short.
Yep. Well, it was all about giving yourself a break and just treating your mental illnesses like actual illnesses, like I've talked about so many times.
Rest
treating it
and
like
soup.
Girls stay in bed. And I was like, well, Rachel Hollis get mad probably.
Well,
is she gonna sue me?
She's gonna want royalties.
Probably.
She's what's that called?
Well, instead of girl, because we're all women, I'll say ladies stay in bed. Ladies. Because we're royalties on that.
People stay in bed.
Yeah. It's not just women.
Yeah.
Men are tired too.
Yeah.
They have so much going on.
So there's a lot they gotta dodge.
It's a tough world out there.
It really is. I had a thought, but I forgot it because I'm concussed.
Concussed.
My goodness. Oh, do we want to talk about the updated circle stuff?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And how we were so effing wrong?
So wrong.
Like, I listened to our bonus episode and I was like, oh, by the way, if you guys don't know what we're talking about bonus episode wise, we have through Red Circle, you can find it linked in our bio in our link tree. There is exclusive content. There's 2 episodes up. We're trying to do 2 bonus episodes a month on there. But the last one we talked about was the circle. And I was like, I want Kat to win. And like,
goodbye.
Yeah, bitch didn't last another episode.
She immediately made me mad too. I was like, because I have a spot for Chloe right now.
Yeah.
That I didn't know that I was going to have for her. But it was very much like in the first circle where Joey was such a douche. And I was like, ugh, all he cares about is like just bro douchey stuff. And then towards the end, he was like the underdog that I wanted to win. And that's how I feel about.
See, River started slipping for me.
Yeah, same.
And Courtney had a redemption arc.
I like Courtney's back up there for me too.
You know what it was?
What?
It was what they wanted to use the money for.
Same. That was exactly Courtney and Chloe both when they said first of all, again, I can't watch anything without crying.
Yeah.
So when they were talking about what they wanted to use the money for, Mitchell's, I was like, and then Chloe said hers, and I was like,
you know what? Mitchell's wasn't bad. It's just that it came out of Mitchell's face.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about him speaking that I'm like, I don't want to hear it.
But Corey switched his completely, and he was team
Corey?
Trevor.
Corey. Okay.
Team Trevor and Mitchell. He was team Courtney and River, and then he switched to Trevor and Mitchell.
I like Trevor.
You
I
like...
still like Trevor.
Oh,
Delisa.
I have to tell you guys, spoilers.
Yeah.
I forgot to say that we're going to do a lot of spoilers. Is that her name?
Delisa?
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, I can never remember what her...
I
I
know.
want to call her Trevor.
Well, I knew it was like something like Delisa, but because Lisa's name is Lisa, I was like, is it Lisa and Delisa? Like,
Yeah.
am I making that up?
She's got a soft spot for me as well now,
Yeah.
because again, I'm like, oh, they want to, get a house for their daughter. But then again, oh my God, when me and Corey were watching it and they got to the point where Chloe was like really putting her heart out there.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, no, I hate you.
How much did you cry when they got the videos from home?
Oh my God, so hard.
Oh, the worst.
The worst.
Can I tell you, this is nothing to do with the circle, but I started hysterically crying as soon as I got my second vaccine.
Aww.
Hysterically crying.
I cried a little when I got my first one just because I was like, oh my God, the world might be like normal.
Yes, it was like it hit me that we have been in the middle of a global trauma for a year, over a year. And it's so funny that some of you guys have messaged us and they're like, I feel like a psychic. Because listening to your old messages, listening to your old episodes, you're like, oh, we're supposed to open up by May or August.
No.
Meanwhile, we're about to enter May the following year.
I know.
Do you remember when we opened up last year in May? It was like May 15th or something. And I was like, I think that's a little soon.
Well,
I think it's too soon for us to be opening up.
they
and guess
called
what?
me to get my job back. And I told Corey, I'm like, I'm having a severe panic attack right now. Like thinking about going back to work. I have an autoimmune disorder. Like I am just not comfortable bringing that to, because I had Noah going back and forth from me and Dave's house. So I'm like, I have so many people, you that I would see, and then Noah having to go back and forth.
Our circles kept getting bigger.
Yes, and so I was like, I am in charge. I felt responsible for all of your safety.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm not going.
Right.
I'm not going back to work.
Right.
And
that's why I've shot weddings before, and as thoughtful as it is for people to be like, oh, it's okay, you don't have to wear a mask here. I'm like, no, I'm not trying to be here, be around your guests, and then go to the next wedding and kill the grandma there.
Right.
Like, I don't want anyone tracing it back to, oh, the photographer was the super spreader.
Exactly.
Like, that would be horrific.
Because I just kept thinking of all those times that I would be afraid to get an STD. Because then I was like, how many people am I going to have to call? That's going to be a nightmare. That's what did safe sex for me. I was like, how many people am I going to have to trace this back and have to call them?
Did you ever keep a list?
Of people?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I realized, fuck that shit. You don't owe that to anybody. That
what, your list?
Your number, your list.
Oh.
That was such a thing.
So it's big?
It was big. I'm just kidding. No, but there was like a point where I was like counting, and then I'm like, why am I doing this? Your body, your number, all of that is things that are supposed to make you feel bad for being a sexual person. I'm an adult. Go fuck yourself. Get fucked forever. I can do whatever I want to do.
And I saw
not
that
anymore. I mean, I love my boyfriend. Fiance. So I only have sex with one person
now.
But if I wanted to, if we broke up, I'm an adult.
I saw a TikTok that was saying that virginity is like a social construct.
I told you that. How long ago did I tell you that?
I don't remember, but
I said it on the podcast.
Did you?
Yeah.
We say a lot of things are social constructs. So to be fair,
that's true. Well, I said it was something that the patriarchy made up to make us feel bad.
Yes,
because we never talk about men being virgins, hardly ever. And if we do,
mean, they do, but like it's not like there's not a purity thing.
There's not
normally.
You're a different person after you lose your virginity. Whereas for women, it's put on us like...
Well, I think it is, but they're more like you became a man.
Yes, which is fucked up.
Yes, where if I were younger and I lost my virginity before whatever timeline was allowed by
the world said we could,
Yeah, it was, I am a hooer.
Yeah. Oh, now you're
unpure.
Yeah. Now you're first of all,
loose?
The loose.
Hey,
that's not how fucking vaginas work.
Also, time out. Lose and loose are two different words. Lose 1-0, loose 2. So I don't know who needs to hear it. just check it. Okay, spell check doesn't catch it, and it makes me very, very angry.
I also don't know who needs to hear this, but if you have sex with one person 500 times, and if you have sex with 500 different people, nothing different happens to your vagina. So
I mean, unless you got to be safe.
Well, yeah, no,
Yes,
I'm just saying that
safely,
nothing size-wise will happen. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
yeah.
We push full-on humans out of here, and it goes back to normal.
Really does.
So if you think your fucking ween is going to make that much of a difference, you're lying to yourself, honey.
Someone lied to you.
Yeah, your peener is not that special.
Not at all. Also, say penis and vagina.
Yeah.
And breasts.
Yeah, but I'm not going to.
Me
But you
neither.
should.
We say pee-pee, vajangle, and teeters. So, but let's normalize.
Sake, so that we can feel better about it.
Ours is it's pet names. Okay,
Yeah.
it's not because I'm afraid to say penis, vagina, and breasts.
Yeah.
It's just because I prefer titters, vajangle, and pee-pee.
Peener wiener. That reminds me of that New Girl episode where she can't say
Peern.
Your peerness.
If the framing is just a little bit off for those of you watching on YouTube, it's because I just kicked the camera trying to reset it. So just
Sorry.
leave me alone. I'm concussed.
We're doing our fucking best.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about something that I've wanted to talk about since pretty much the beginning of last year.
Can I tell you a story?
Oh, please.
First?
Yeah.
I just remembered one.
No, go ahead.
I went on my walk today.
Okay.
Sometimes I walk 2, 3, 4 times a day.
She walks a lot.
I have to get out of my house.
Yeah.
And if it's gonna like be rainy, that I'll walk a lot, try and stock
Really
up.
get it all in.
Yeah. Well, today I went this morning, even though it was a little chilly because I knew it was going to rain the rest of the day. And as I'm walking by the restaurant I ate at before I shit myself at homecoming,
Is that one over there? That way?
Yeah,
Okay.
by the old car dealership. So
I
anyway.
didn't know that was a restaurant. I'm sure you've said it. I just
Yeah.
forgot.
Oh, yes. You didn't know that was the restaurant.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Anyway. So I'm walking by it and I hear, hey. And I turn and there's 2 ladies outside and they're drawing with chalk, I believe, on the ground.
Older
Like 40s, 50s.
Awesome.
And if you're younger and you're listening to this, I apologize. But anyway, they're like, hey, we see you walking by all the time. And I'm like, oh, yeah. And they're like, yeah, you go like 2, 3, 4 times a day sometimes. And I'm like, I need to get out of the house. They're like, yeah, we're up here in the offices watching you. We always say, there's our girl. So wave at us next time. Your kids do so great in that stroller. And I'm like, well, you go 2, 3, 4 times a day. They really get used to it. Anyway, I thought it was strange at first. And then I was telling my friend and she was like, well, think about it. They know your route. If you go missing, they could help solve your murder.
That's fantastic.
I know. But then I thought, does that mean someone else is watching to plan my murder?
Well,
Now that they know that that's also my route?
that's scary.
I know.
But also, I don't think it's that different because there's a dog that is not my dog. It's a neighborhood dog.
It walks itself 4 times a day.
No, it has someone walking it.
Uh-huh.
Always different people. I never say
What?
hi to them. Yeah. Well, it's a big house. And
Oh,
there's
okay.
not every day, but there's just
Yeah.
normally, it's not the same person.
I just
every day.
imagine, instead of one person going and walking a bunch of dogs, it's just a dog that voluntarily walks with a bunch of different people.
Well, the dog's name is Willow,
Oh.
and I know everything about her. Willow and another golden retriever. They're both golden retrievers.
Uh-huh.
Willow has a boyfriend,
Got
and
it.
so they'll see each other sometimes, and then they run over to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, well, so I feel like I know these people, but if I said that to them, they have no idea I'm watching them, and that I know all of this.
Yeah.
I just eavesdrop on their conversations with the other family with
Well,
the golden retriever.
I can tell you, if you did tell them, they would think it's weird.
I'm not gonna. I'll never fucking tell.
Yeah, don't.
Because it would be, I am weird.
Yeah.
I just enjoy Willow.
Yeah.
She's a cool dog.
You just speak directly to Willow and
I'm
ignore
like,
the
no,
person.
I don't know you. But Willow and I have a connection. I feel like I know her.
Yeah.
And I don't know what her boyfriend's name is because I just hear them always say, Willow, that's your boyfriend. And she
Aw.
runs over and her little butt is moving.
Lesby has a girlfriend.
I
Her
knew
name is
that.
Roxy. You can't say her name around him because he freaks out.
I
He hasn't
love
seen her
that.
in a very long time. She lives in Cleveland now. But
That's very sad.
anyway, topic this week.
So the topic this week, we kind of touched on a little bit of things for it, but it's something that I've wanted to talk about since the pandemic started because, well, I'll tell you some things about what it is, and then I'll let you draw your own conclusions of why it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
But
how it correlates.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about cognitive dissonance, which I also just learned about in psychology class. So
Remember, we're going to school with Cece.
I'm in college. And it's finals week, and I am freaking
You're
out.
really just getting a do-over from 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah! The pregnancy.
This time the guy's going to stay, and you're going to finish school.
You know, he better. And I better.
Yeah.
I just said that. I was like, this is like so much of what happened 10 years ago, except, you know, I hope it doesn't end the same.
Yeah.
I don't think it will. This one seems, you know, I'm
committed.
Not like he actually likes me in a romantic way.
Yeah.
Which I think is important in a relationship.
I do too.
In a long term.
One could say pivotal.
I think.
Yeah.
So here's the deal. This is what cognitive dissonance is. It refers to a situation involving conflicting attitudes, beliefs, or behavior. And this produces a feeling of mental discomfort leading to an alteration in one of the attitudes, beliefs, or behaviors to reduce the discomfort in your brain and restore balance.
Yeah. Okay. So that was scientific.
Okay. I will give you an example that we can all understand. For example, a behavior, people smoking.
Yep.
The cognition, they know that smoking causes cancer. So they are in a state of cognitive dissonance. When they smoke, they change either in their mind, they'll say, well, I only do it on the weekends, or I only do it when I drink.
Right.
My boyfriend is a freaking nurse and he smokes when he drinks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you know what this does to people,
right?
Right? But in his mind, oh, I only do it
occasionally. Or they're like, oh, the statistic isn't like 100%.
Or, like, we're all gonna die someday.
Yeah.
We're gonna die of something. I mean, my sister said it today. She was like, so like me and tanning. I'm like, yes. Yes, honestly. It's you in your mind, you
know the risks and validate that it's worth it.
Some way. Another big one that I think you and I can really relate to, because we're not really smokers.
Yeah.
Is eating meat. Eating meat. When I watch those videos of what happens, it makes me immediately want to be a vegetarian, but I fucking love meat.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I don't even
I will cry
directly
into a burger.
Cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I just pretend that they're all on a loving farm, that they've lived a really good life.
They donated their life to not science.
They were already sick.
Restaurants. I'm not sick. I don't want a sick one.
No. But
I want a
they were
thick
already
one.
old. They had lived a good life.
No, I want a fresh one.
And so...
But not a baby.
No, I won't eat veal. I'm not a monster.
No, I will eat duck.
Yeah. Not ducklings.
Duck a little orange? Oh my gosh, so fancy.
Never had it.
Yeah. No?
No.
I had it on a cruise ship once.
Oh, you fancy bitch. I've never been on a cruise ship.
I was on a cruise ship with other people. And I was like 75% sure that the Jonas Brothers were on there, but I think they were just three brothers with dark hair. So
same thing.
Yeah.
So it was
Who could tell?
Yeah.
Jonas Brothers. Was that you on the cruise ship with me?
I know they watch.
Yeah.
At least Kevin.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
For sure. So, okay. There is a person who really came up with this, Leon Festinger.
Mm-hmm.
And his theory suggests that we all have an inner drive to hold all of our attitudes and our behavior in harmony, and we avoid disharmony or dissonance.
Yeah.
So this is known as the principle of cognitive consistency. But when there's an inconsistency between attitudes or behaviors, again, a dissonance, something must change to eliminate that dissonance. So I'm just going to go ahead and say it. The biggest thing that I could think about is the people who knew what was going on with the pandemic, had all of the correct information, and then chose to rewrite what was happening.
Yeah.
Because it made them uncomfortable. It's scary. Here's the
Yes.
thing. Whether you said it or not, your mind can trick yourself into believing that you're not scared at all, that it's because you really, truly believe that there are so many people still after a year of this, after we all know somebody who knows somebody, or like I have a family member who passed away from it. We all know people who have had it. There's still people that believe it's a hoax.
Yeah.
There's still people that believe there was a political agenda behind it. Like that to me.
Do you think that it's easier for people to believe that there's a political agenda? Sorry that I keep touching your feet.
I love it.
A political agenda or a hoax because it is easier to process that than it is to process the global trauma?
Well, I think that, and I think it's easier for people to believe that because that way we can solve it.
Yeah.
We can fix it.
And
there's no way to solve a bacteria. You know what I mean? A viral infection or a bacteria. Like that is scary. Something that we can't see, that is fucking terrifying.
And I think that's something that I want to point out because I think when it is presented in a way that's like us versus them, or like people who don't think it's a hoax and are like confronting it versus people who believe it's a hoax, it can sound like one is villainized.
Yeah. When
I really do believe that people who have that train of thought came to that conclusion because it's easier for them to process.
I agree. And I don't think, again, I don't think they're meaning to. I think it literally is like a protection that their brain is doing.
Yes.
Like, this is so fucking scary.
Right.
That
I don't want to think that people came to that conclusion and decided not to wear masks or to hold large parties.
Because they really didn't give a fuck.
Yes.
That's what, I don't want to believe that either. I truly don't.
Right.
I think for them, it's just easier to process if they say things like, I'm going to die sometime, or, well, you know, it's a political thing. It's a hoax. It's not that bad. The government is paying the hospitals to fucking make up that people have it. Like whatever people were saying. And some people are still clinging to that.
Because we didn't know
it's
if
traumatizing.
And we don't know when the end is. We feel like we're getting close to the end of the tunnel, but we don't really know.
It is uncomfortable. Right. The entire world was in a state of uncomfortability.
Right.
We were, and there was, like you said, no end game in sight. Mm-hmm. And especially for people who don't really believe in vaccines or are like anti, when that's the only solution that people can think of and you have a stance against that, that's scary.
Yeah.
You know, that's not there's no good way to feel about that. So your brain is going to make up.
Right. Or try to rationalize it in a way that makes you feel safe.
Yeah.
That keeps you comfortable.
Doesn't make you feel like the bad guy or a selfish person.
And the hard thing about the pandemic and the global trauma that we're experiencing is, I was just telling Shane earlier, like, there is no one I can turn to who has been through this previously.
And can say that it'll be okay.
Yes. Everyone is going through this together at the same time. And like, for me, Ollie, when Rachel was here earlier, that we haven't had people here. Like, you've come over, but like you've been consistently here. So and like
I've been, like I said, my bubble consisted of like you and Dave and Aaron, which is like Noah's family, and that was it. I didn't go anywhere really.
Right. But seeing like people outside of our bubble now that people are getting vaccinated and we are feeling safer. When she was here, Ollie was off the charts.
Yep.
Like super energy. And it was because he was overstimulated.
Yeah. He's like, people.
Yes. He doesn't know how to act. And like, I feel like I don't know who to turn to because I see my child who needs my attention because it's just been us for the last year. And if I want to have a conversation with someone else, he doesn't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Because he's never seen me have a conversation with someone else.
That's not me or Shane.
Well, yeah. And even when you're here, half the time he's asleep.
Yeah.
So it was just like, I don't know what to do. And I can't even turn to someone else and be like, how long does this last? Yeah. They're like, I don't fucking know. Never been through a pandemic before.
Yeah.
Yeah. Never had to isolate myself from people before.
Yep.
So I feel so very helpless and so very alone. Mm-hmm. And whenever you don't know when the end is, if the end in your mind is like, oh, if everyone would just realize that this isn't real, we can move on.
Then we can, because pretending something isn't real is the easiest. Again, I pretend that animals are not getting horrendously slaughtered.
Yeah.
Because it makes me feel like a terrible person when I eat their flesh.
Right.
That's so bad. I really might become a vegetarian after this.
You're
No,
not.
I'm not going to. Well, that was the one thing I had aversions to, so I actually stopped eating meat a
Yep.
lot. So I don't know. Maybe I could.
No.
No.
I had an aversion to pizza, and I've eaten it 3 times this week. So
It's really good.
yeah.
But yeah, I can kind of almost relate, but that was a time when we really needed
Yeah.
people to like, it's hard to be vulnerable. It's hard to say you're scared though. It's hard to admit that you're feeling a certain way because that vulnerability is a quote unquote weakness.
Right.
And so then, can't be weak.
And the hard part for me, and I don't even know if I can give a full definition of this because I am just kind of learning with you right now, so I haven't had time to like sit with my thoughts. But I feel like confronting this is hard because you have to be ready to have a completely different life.
Yes.
You have to be
Which we'll
ready.
talk about that at the very end. But there's like 3 ways that you can fix having and they all involve some discomfort.
Right.
In
and
some
if
way.
you are so used to your reality and you feel safe within your reality, even if you're not happy in it, you can feel safe but also not happy.
Yeah.
Because it's comfortable, it's familiar, it's controllable.
Well, I used to tell myself in my brain that I was not being abused because I wasn't getting directly punched in the face.
Right.
I had a black eye. I had a broken nose. I had, marks on my collar where I was being choked.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay.
But I thought because he wasn't close fisting, punching me in the face, I was like, I'm not being abused. He doesn't hit me.
Yeah.
He throws me into things sometimes. And like that was the way because I knew I couldn't leave.
Right.
I couldn't fucking leave. There was no way at that time for me to safely leave. And I know that for some people it's easy to just look at a abusive this is another reason I didn't like Rachel Hollis, by the way, because the way that she talks, she says something about leaving and like women shouldn't leave until they're financially stable enough to leave or something, which is completely dismissing domestic violence situations. Completely.
Right.
She says that in her second fucking book. And I read that part and I was like, yikes, honey, you are completely like that. You're making people who are already having a hard time deciding whether they should leave or not. Now they're like, well, shit, I should stay.
Yeah.
But anyways, what I was going to say was it's easy for people to look at them and think, well, just leave. But if you can't, then you don't want people to sit there and tell you don't want to feel stupid. You don't want to feel like what an idiot I am for staying. So you make up these excuses. You make up these scenarios in your mind. You make up these,
to justify it.
It could be bad, but he's not bad all the time.
Right.
He does really, really nice things for me and my
Right.
family.
And I think that can be hard for people who are contemplating therapy or who are in therapy because you can think about your life and compare it to other people. And you can be like, oh, well, no one hurt me. Mm-hmm. No one physically put hands on me. Or no one, like I never had to worry about my lights being turned off.
Yeah.
Like I had a car, but you can dismiss reasons why you could be struggling as an adult.
Yeah.
You could have a perfectly wonderful, beautiful family, but maybe you had trauma at school.
Yeah.
That you won't allow yourself to address because of it.
And because you feel guilty that like, well, my life was perfect at home, so why do I feel this way? Why
or
do
you
I
could
have this
have
trauma?
you could have trauma from church.
Yeah.
And I was just talking to someone about purity culture and how growing up and believing just being fearful of these things that you're told are for adults or you're told that are only allowed in the sanctity of marriage. But then like when you get married, it's like, how do I walk through that door now when I was told I was supposed to be ashamed of it for so long?
So now how do I become welcoming this?
You have to rewrite your brain. And like, it is hard to realize that something that you love so dearly or you feel so connected to could also be the source of your trauma.
Yes.
Or the thing keeping you from growing.
Yeah. that I'm sorry, when you were talking, that reminded me that I had to pick up Noah for his therapy appointment the other day. And he was sitting with the secretary for a little bit. I was just like, it was 10 minutes before he was supposed to leave or whatever. So he was sitting in her office and she opened the door and was like, he's so funny. He was sitting here having a conversation. So I asked him what he said, and he was like, well, she asked me what my appointment was. I said I had therapy. And she was like, oh, what do you go to therapy for? Which I kind of hate that question.
Yeah.
Because it's like,
Because
what's
it's good
wrong
for
with
me?
you? Yeah.
Yes.
This is what my son said. He goes, well, she helps me boost my happiness. She helps me with my emotions sometimes, and she helps me with my problems. You know, everybody has problems.
Oh, God bless him.
I know. And the lady was like, oh yeah, and then he shrugged and he goes, everybody should go to therapy. And that was the last thing he said, and I was
Your
like,
son.
I've never told him that.
You
But
are.
it's true. Everybody should go to I say all the time, it's like skincare. That should be a preventative measure, whether like instead of, oh, we need this now because I need something fixed.
Right.
It's like, why wouldn't you just go
Yeah, do it ahead of time.
prevent it? Yeah.
Right.
And like work on it as a child. He is learning secondary emotions, and he's learning when he's feeling this feeling that he thinks is anger. It might actually be because he's embarrassed. It might
Right.
actually be, and like, oh
Or
my
he's
God.
lonely. Or,
Can you imagine as a grown adult man if he can verbalize those things?
Right.
Because we don't have a lot
Do
of
you
that.
know how amazing you're doing as a mother?
Oh, stop it.
Do you?
No, but that helps.
You are. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Thanks.
That's a 9-year-old boy who said that.
That is to like a 50-something-year-old woman.
Yes. That's
she
amazing.
She was like shook by it. I'm like,
as she should be.
yeah. He knows what he's talking about. He's a smart boy.
He is a smart boy.
Okay, so this next part is what we talked about in my psychology class, and I really, really love this experiment. So, because I was like, I'm going to try to say it by memory because I don't have it written down in front of me, so just bear with me.
Okay.
But this is called forced compliance behavior, and it's when someone is forced to do publicly something that they privately don't want to do.
Got it.
There's a dissonance that's created between their cognition, which is I didn't want to do this, and their behavior, I did it. So, I don't know. I would say some of the things on January 6th, we could see some things happening there. Some people, I think they did want to do it, but then they felt ashamed about it afterwards, and then they're like, Antifa.
Yeah.
There's a experiment that they did at, I believe it was Stanford, and it was a bunch of psychology students. So it was called the Festinger and Carl Smith experiment in 1959. And so what they had these students do, they would go in and they would like, there's a board with pegs in it, and they would have to go in and like slightly turn these pegs. And like, it was a super tedious, boring task that they had to do. And they did it for like an hour. And then afterwards, they had a control group where they just let them leave. Then they had a group where they paid them $1 to tell the next students that were in like the next room that were waiting to do it, tell them that it was a super fun experiment and that they were going to have a good time. And then they would pay the next group $20 to do it. Tell the people whatever. So some of the people didn't do it, obviously.
Yeah.
They were just like, no, that was actually really fucking boring.
Yeah.
And then some people did it. So afterwards, and they wrote down who did it, who didn't do it, you know what I'm saying. Afterwards, they had you do like a sheet to fill out to say how you felt about the experiment. And the results were very interesting because the control group, pretty much all of them said it was boring.
Yeah.
The people that were $20, most of them said it was boring. Some of them said it was fun. But the people that were only paid $1 rated it as being really fun. And I couldn't figure that out at first.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason is because being paid only $1 is not a sufficient incentive for lying. So, like, if you were paid $20, you're like, well, yeah, I lied because I was paid $20. Why wouldn't
Right.
But like $1 is not shit. So these people had to create a dissonance in their mind. They had to create like, oh, it must have been fun because I said it was fun, and I wouldn't just do that for $1. I'm not cheap.
Right.
Right? Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So I thought that experiment was really interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, this says life is filled with decisions. And decisions, as a general rule, will arouse dissonance. So, for example, suppose you had to decide whether to accept a job in a beautiful area of the country or turn down the job so you could be near your friends and your family. Either way, you would experience dissonance because if you take the job, you're going to miss your loved ones.
Right.
And if you don't, you would pine for those beautiful streams and the mountains, etc. Both alternatives have their good points and bad points. The thing is, making a decision cuts off the possibility that you can enjoy the advantages of the unchosen alternative, but it assures you that you must accept the disadvantages of the chosen.
Right.
So people have several ways to reduce dissonance by making a decision. One thing they can do is change the behavior. That's super difficult, obviously, like quitting smoking, things like that.
Right.
Quit being a vegetarian.
Yeah.
That's going to be like one of the hardest ones. Wearing a mask.
That we can relate to.
Yes. Accepting that things are real. So a lot of times people will employ a variety of mental maneuvers as to not like do that or to reduce the dissonance. And that's more so of like what we're seeing people do, which is like make excuses basically in their head. There was something
I
in
think
here.
it's really hard too for people who this is going to be really controversial.
Oh, go ahead.
But
I also want to say there's another example of it, but go ahead.
It is what is going on with the Black Lives Matter movement and police brutality.
That's exactly what I was fucking gonna say.
Like I hate that it's controversial, but it is controversial because the problem is that there is police brutality, that it exists. But because people have respect and love for law enforcement,
or people that they know in it,
right,
love in it, people that are police officers that are doing the job,
right,
it creates an uncomfortable, you don't want to admit that there's brutality in that system.
Right. Because
even when we're seeing it, we're fucking all watching it live on multiple cameras.
And that's when people jump to the, well, they shouldn't have had this, or they should have done this, or look at their record. It's like, no.
Making these excuses. There's no excuse to brutalize people the way that they're being brutalized. At
right,
all.
Right. And
he deserved that. He deserved someone sitting on his neck for almost 10 minutes because he did drugs. Get fucked if that's what you think.
Potentially used a fake $20 bill.
Right. But the thing that they were like, well, he's a drug addict. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Nobody deserves that.
Yeah.
And
so he should receive death and not
being
treatment?
an addict is not
it's a disease.
Deserve the death penalty. It absolutely is a disease.
Right.
And that's a hard thing for people to accept too, because then it's so easy to paint people as good versus bad.
Right. We see it when we talk about sex work as well.
Yes.
It's anything. I feel like this is present in anything that is considered taboo because it forces people to confront things that makes them feel uncomfortable.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that you can't have your convictions and you can't, for your life, make decisions. But if sex work is honest work, and if someone chooses to have an OnlyFans, or to be an escort,
and
like
if you think it's like, oh well, you're selling your body. I've said this multiple times. When I was a restaurant worker, I was literally also selling my body.
Right.
I was putting miles on my body.
What do you think a surrogate is?
Right. So,
Someone literally gives their womb to someone else.
Yeah.
From not all of them make money, but some people make money being a surrogate.
But again, that goes back to like religious things and purity and all of those patriarchal, like women have to be pure. So the fact that which is so silly because again, if it was a man, they wouldn't care. But the fact that it's a woman, it's now like, well, I don't like that because it makes me uncomfortable because you're supposed to be pure for me.
Right. For why?
I don't owe you anything.
Yeah, no.
Nobody owes you literally anything.
Right.
And if that makes you uncomfortable, then don't pay for sex work.
Right.
Like, other than that, what is it doing to you?
Right. There are I don't pay for a lot of things that I'm not into.
Yeah.
I don't like guns. So I don't spend money on guns.
Yep.
That, like, I don't understand why, if we can regulate something like a firearm, which can severely fatally harm people.
Multiple people at a time.
Right. But we still make them accessible. Why can't we do the same for sex work,
I know.
for drugs?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Oh
Like,
my God, we could go into the war on drugs. I could freaking talk about that shit all day.
I know. It's just like, and I grew up in the church, and that's why I bring it up, is because like I grew up in the church believing like drugs are bad, alcohol is bad, sex is bad, all these things are bad.
If you do those things, you are labeled bad. Not
Yes.
that you are labeled somebody who has trauma, not sex work, but I'm talking about drugs and alcohol abuse.
Right.
If you're an addict, you are labeled bad immediately.
Right.
You are not labeled like someone who needs help.
Yes.
You know what
Sick.
I mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Someone with trauma who is coping
Right.
with it by numbing themselves.
Right. Or even if you, because recreational marijuana is legal in several states. And if you are someone who participates in that, like someone can label them lazy or what, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just, I'm not saying everyone go smoke weed, but like if that's not for you, cool. But why are you shaming someone else?
Because of your beliefs.
Right.
Then don't do it. If you don't like it, don't do it.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Excuse me. So I'm going to tell you how cognitive dissonance can be resolved. So we've already said that you could change your existing beliefs. You could also add new beliefs, or you could reduce the importance of your beliefs. So again, it's kind of what I do with meat. Where I'm just like, I don't know. I just wish I could care more. Because
I wish I cared more about the animals than I did about how good they taste.
I know, and I really do. I love animals so much, but it is hard
and I
not
love
to
how
eat
they
them.
taste.
Yes. Change one or more of the attitude's beliefs to make the relationships between the two elements a consonant one. So when one of the
I was gonna say, do you mean a constant one?
No, it says consonant.
What's a consonant one?
I don't know, a dissonant and consonant.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So when one of the I'm like, I don't fucking know what they mean, but look, they're like very similar. It's just the opposite of that word.
Obviously, I'm with you.
Yes. So when one of the dissonant elements is a behavior, the individual can change or eliminate the behavior. However, this mode of dissonance reduction frequently presents problems for people, as it is often difficult for people to change well-learned behaviors, responses, addictions, giving up smoking, blah, blah, blah. New information. For example, thinking smoking causes lung cancer will cause dissonance if a person smokes. However, new information such as research has not proved definitely that smoking can cause lung cancer and may reduce the dissonance. Again, we saw that a lot where people were picking and choosing in 2020 what information they were willing to take in.
Yes.
Based on their dissonance. And that's literally what we were watching happen. Sorry, I'm so out of breath.
I know. People didn't find us until January, but all of the ones while I was pregnant with Forrest, I'm just heavy breathing through all the episodes.
Now you have to listen to me too.
Yep.
I'm sorry. Okay, or you can reduce the importance of the cognition. So a person could convince themselves that it is better to live for today than to save for tomorrow.
Which is what we saw with, like, don't live in fear.
I don't live in fear. If it's my time to go, it's my time to go. I believe in Jesus, so if he's ready for me, I'm ready to go. And it's like, cool, but Grandpa's not. Like, Jesus, you don't get to make that decision for me, Mom.
Meemaw and Peepaw.
Relax, you know? So they could tell yourself that a short life filled with smoking and sensual pleasures is better than a long life devoid of such joys. In this way, he would be decreasing the importance of the dissonant cognition. So, again, something that we're seeing a lot, which is people just being like, it's not that important to me. Right. The numbers, I just think it's a lot of like people really choosing. There's another one where they said that there was an experiment they did with cult members. And the ones,
by the way,
where I'm going.
Yeah, we did say that we were going to do an episode on cults.
Oh, I would love to, but again, I feel like I really still have some strong feelings about certain.
I don't think that anyone is pro cult.
Well, like QAnon, I feel is a cult.
Oh,
sorry, that's what I'm going to talk about here.
Yeah,
because it's things like
I don't think that any QAnon people listen to us.
Well, hey, here's the
If
deal.
they do, they hate listen. By the way, we had someone tell us
that they hate listen.
that they don't hate listen to us, that they have different views, but they don't hate listen. And I was like,
We appreciate that.
Thank you for at least telling us that you don't hate us.
Yeah, that's very nice.
Yeah.
But I here's the thing. I have studied cults for a very long time. That's the only reason why I say that specifically is a cult, because it literally is a cult.
Yeah.
There's a follower queue or like a cult leader queue, but you don't know who it is, and they listen to his every word, to the point where there was a fucking lady in Cleveland who quit her job as a teacher to, quote, save the children or whatever.
Yes. And storm the Capitol.
Yes! That is so dangerous.
Yes.
Well, anyways, in one of these experiments, there was this cult who the leader ended up passing away or killed himself or something. And the people who weren't that deep in it were like, oh, yeah, wow, that was a cult. That was crazy. The people that were so immersed in it were still trying to make, like, excuses, basically.
Yes.
We're still saying things like, well, we don't have all the information. Or, well, our predictions didn't come true, but that's because we were such faithful leaders, such faithful people that, you know, the end of the world didn't happen. That's why. Same thing with, like, people are still saying that someone else is the president.
Yes.
And every time their prediction gets not made correctly,
come up with a new
one.
Instead of facing reality.
That's a fucking cult.
Yeah.
Sorry, but it is. So,
and I think anyone who looks at this, just when we brought up the Capitol, I think if anyone can look at what happened at the Capitol and say or justify why they got different treatment than when there was a Black Lives Matter protest, or why they got different treatment while they were physically harming officers.
While they were literally why do I want to say cremated?
I don't know.
While they were literally, what is fucking
assaulting?
I was gonna say, like,
crushing,
not creating. But anyways, committing. While they were literally committing treason. I want to say committing treason, but that turned into cremation.
Yeah.
In my head.
It can.
But yeah, they were committing treason actively.
Yes.
And you're like, I don't understand why.
Oh, they didn't mean it. They were just having funsies, taking pictures.
Yeah.
That right there is cognitive dissonance.
The fucking vice president.
Yes.
And when you're like, no, they didn't. They weren't serious about it. They had a fucking noose.
Yes.
And they were screaming, hang Mike Pence.
Yes.
I'm sorry. You can't say, like, I don't understand why so-and-so got shot here. Mm-hmm. And we can't riot for her, but you want to... She was fucking trying to kill Nancy Pelosi.
Yes.
Like, that is not the same as someone sleeping in their bed.
Yeah.
And people coming in and shooting her while she's in bed.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
Not the fucking same thing. And I don't think anybody deserves to get shot, but in that situation, you kind of had to see it that it was coming.
Well, he said, if you keep coming, I'm going to do this.
Yeah, you were breaking into the Capitol?
Yes.
Oh, my God. Remember at Washington, D.C.?
Not only were they going into the Capitol, they were going into the Capitol to stop the
vote.
The vote.
And they were screaming
the
to
certification
hang people.
Of the vote.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't. Yeah, I mean, again, you were committing treason. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like,
all of them listening. We're just sitting them down and having a conversation.
And they're in the jail, and they're like, turn on Ladies and Tangents.
Well, that's something that Shane brought up, too, is like, that guy in jail, he was like a holistic guy. Yeah. He was like, I can't eat this because it's not organic.
Guy. Yeah.
And they got him organic food. Like, are you kidding?
The privilege. And that's
the thing.
Is that man?
You want to act like privilege doesn't exist? That's cognitive dissonance. You see, okay, you guys remember we talked about bidets? So we're getting bidets.
Oh my God. Thank you, Hello Tushy.
I think it's just Tushy.
I thought it was Hello Tushy.
Is it? I think it's just Tushy.
When they messaged us, it was Hello Tushy.
I thought you were combining HelloFresh and Tushy. And I'm like, if there's dairy, I'm going to need to combine them. But whenever they asked if we would record an episode in the bathroom, and I was like, absolutely.
Yes.
My bathroom in my house is between both of my kids' rooms, and it's petite. So there would be no way for us to record in there without waking my children up.
Yeah.
So I called my parents and was like, hey, can we record in your bathroom? They just did a whole full bathroom remodel. I'm like, I think it'll be hysterical. They have this like fake fireplace above the bathtub. And then I was like, I don't want to record there because like freaking how bougie is that?
It looks like we have money and we don't.
Yeah, my parents do. But then I realized like my parents do because they had assistance. My dad didn't go to college, so he didn't have debt. My mom had assistance and a scholarship for athletics, so she didn't have debt coming out of school. The house that they live in was my grandparents' house, so they had a really good deal on it. And yeah, they put a lot of money into it, but they have a lot of equity now in the house.
And they're able to because they didn't have to pay that like insane loans.
Yes. So like I realize, oh my gosh, so many examples of privilege.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah. That doesn't negate that they worked hard.
Yep, they worked hard, but it's privilege.
But it was privilege.
And I hear TKO's voice in my head all the time. They were like, you can be sorry, but don't be a sorry ass. Mm-hmm. And so like I can acknowledge my privilege and then what am I going to do with it?
Yep.
And so like we're going to record it in that bathroom.
Yep.
But that's why I think it's important for us in these episodes to be like,
talk about the things that are important.
Yes. To talk about where there is dissonance, where people are justifying the death of someone while also justifying why someone should have preferred meals in jail.
And Khalif Browder, I don't know if you ever heard about him. I want to say that he was in New York. Hold on. He was arrested for allegedly stealing a backpack in New York City. He was in jail. I wish I knew. Oh my gosh, he was 16 when he was in jail in Rikers Island for about 3 years.
Yeah,
3 years
Rikers
for
is rough.
Allegedly.
Yes.
And because people were picking on him, he was getting into fights. He was put in solitary confinement for a lot of that time.
Yeah.
When he was released. When they finally figured out they didn't steal the fucking backpack,
right? He
ended up committing suicide. I'm sorry. He died by suicide. That is something that I want to change how I say that because commit.
He didn't do anything wrong. Commit gives the connotation that
he commit a crime, but he didn't do anything wrong. He was put in solitary confinement that literally fucks with your mental health. Yeah. He was treated like an animal.
Right.
And then he succumbed to the effects of that afterwards and ended up, he
lost his life.
He lost his life because of that.
Right.
But we're going to give organic food to this fucker who literally committed treason.
Right.
And I'm going to say commit there because he fucking did. But
yeah. Yeah. So, like, that's what we're asking is, like, keep the same energy.
Keep the same fucking energy. Check your dissonances, people, because I know that they're there, and it's hard for me because I know that I have some. I did quit smoking, though, so fucking what's up?
There you go.
Thank you. It was the baby. No, I quit before that. I quit in June when I was trying. Yeah. So, just, because I also just didn't want to do it anymore, and I wasn't doing it very often, but it was the same thing. Like when I drank, I smoked because it's easier to convince yourself of things when you have a little fuzzy up here making your brain not so,
And see, that's why I also wanted to bring up that there is severe trauma, like for people who were raised in the church.
Yeah.
I know that in the faith episode, I talked about how I lost my faith and then came back to it, and how Shane and I are on the worship team at our church. And like, we obviously haven't participated in a very long time, but I don't want to say I'm in support of something without acknowledging the areas in which it fails people.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, the point of it is saying, for those people who love officers and respect law enforcement, saying, I can respect law enforcement, and for that reason, I need them to do better. I need these things to be changed.
Yes.
Because
they owe it to themselves, and they owe it to us.
Right.
And we owe it to them to provide better training, to do better for them.
Right.
Because the whole system is fucked up.
Yeah.
And it needs
We need a new system. Yeah. So, is that all you had?
That's all I have.
Okay.
There's really not a lot you can do with dissonance. It's just, I think.
No, I think that's plenty. Yeah. I hope that
I just thought
sense.
It was a cool concept, and it's something that we don't think about a lot, but that we've all, literally every single one of us, has dealt with cognitive dissonance in our life at some point.
We talked about this a little bit with the pandemic. Is like, it's hard to rationalize something that's so ambiguous and feels fleeting. But when you can give a name to it and you know how to process and deal with it, it's easier to heal from it.
Yeah. And it's easier to not be, feel so guilty about certain things because you can be like, I know why my brain is doing this.
Yes.
Put a name on it. I understand that my brain is making me feel this way because this is uncomfortable.
It's the same thing with judgments.
Yeah.
I said last week in the bonus episode, like, I watched Chloe on Too Hot to Handle.
Yeah, and so we had a preconceived judgment of her as being like a bimbo.
Right.
And I love bimbos.
Am I wrong for having a judgment?
Yeah.
No. But like, I'm wrong if I'm confronted with the opposite of my judgment and I still continue to hold it.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
That's
so I
exactly
think
it.
that's why it's important to talk about this, because in a way it gives us an out.
Yeah.
It gives us an opportunity to be like, oh, I am having this moment of cognitive dissonance, and I can step back and be like, how can I work towards growth and understanding and healing and still hold on to my convictions? Or do my convictions need to change?
Yeah. Are they that serious?
Right.
Basically.
And if you guys want us to talk about trauma with the church as well and purity culture,
I would love to do an episode on that.
I think
it just depends on who would want to receive that. It's a very touchy subject, but I think it's an important one.
Right. So let us know. Thanks for hanging out with us this week. It was back to a little bit of serious stuff. I want to try and not apologize for those things. I'm having a hard time. I'm feeling a little bit all over the place.
Yeah.
Mostly because I'm concussed. Okay, so...
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
We'll get goofy in the bathtub next week.
Yeah. Can't wait. All right. That's that on cognitive dissonance.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next week.
All right.
We're out.
Goodbye.